All right. What's up, my peeps? Hello, Surya. Hi, Jana. Hi, Shrika. Nice to see you all. Hi, Parth. How's everybody doing tonight? There's Rudra. I see Jenna. I see Ronit. Thank you for asking, Ronit. My evening has been crazy hectic. I actually just got home a little while ago from taking care of my niece for the last couple of days. So it's been sort of a busy couple of days for me. You know? Yeah, of course you can get started. Yeah, for sure. Hi, Rishik. Yeah, absolutely. Get started. As we get started, I want to introduce you all to this awesome food that I've been eating. This right here, this, friends, is dried golden berries. If you guys have not tried dried golden berries, and if you like sour stuff, this is some good stuff. It's just kind of my snack. I like to snack on it. All right. Let's see. Yeah. Explain all three types of selection for sure. So we have, let's see. So real quick, Parth, to answer your question about fossil record and embryology, honestly, you don't need to know a whole lot. Just know that when we look at the embryos of when we look at two embryos that are so similar, we can draw conclusions that they have a common ancestor. Ronit, going back to your question. So think of disruptive as like, imagine if you have a table and something drops in the middle of your table, right? And your table goes boop. And now in the middle, there's nothing. And then you got two curves that go up. That's your two extremes. That's disruptive. That's your table being disrupted. Stabilizing is the opposite. It's when the middle goes up. And then directional is when one of the extremes, imagine if we're talking about small, medium, large, either the small ones are doing really well or the large ones are doing really well. So that's the difference between all those types of selection. Hi, Shida. Surya, will there be fill in the blanks on the test? Surya, there are no fill in the blanks on the test, but there is a little matching section on the quiz. Hi, Hira. Yeah, no problem, Parth. All right. Nissa, I forget whose class you're in. Divergent versus convergent evolution. Divergent evolution, in a sense, is speciation because you have one species that is sort of doing this, right? So they have a common ancestor, but they start to do kind of different things. So look at the bone structure of a human arm and the bone structure of a bat wing. They have a lot in common. There's a common ancestor there. Whereas convergent evolution is one that sort of comes like this, and it's two species that are not directly related, but they do similar things because of their environments. So the wings of a fly and the wings of a bat, they don't have a common ancestor in that sense, but they're able to both fly. And so they're using what they have in those environments, and that's convergent evolution. Okay, micro and macro, Ishida. Microevolution is very, very small changes, like the size of an elephant's tusks, whereas macroevolution would be something much more significant. So it'd be like maybe losing a trait. Hi, Alex. Can you go over homologous and analogous structures? Yeah, so I'm going to tie that in with Nissa's question, which was, convergent versus divergent evolution. So divergent evolution what kind of structures do you have? You both have a common ancestor, so you have homologous structures. Whereas with convergent, you have analogous structures. So the wings of a fly and the wings of a bat would be an example of analogous structures, like an analogy. Okay. All right. Let's see. Ron, will there be embryonic development and comparative analogy on the quiz tomorrow? I think just understanding what I mentioned earlier about how looking at the embryos of different animals and just being able to tell that they have something in common because they look so similar. All right. Gondar, what's up, man? I do remember you, Gondar. I am one of your biggest fans too, friend. Gondar, thanks for helping me out in Ms. Lerner's class. All right, let's see. And yeah, so I've been observing Ms. Lerner this week because I wanted to see how she teaches human evolution, and I've been super fascinated by it. So, taking a few pages out of Ms. Lerner's book on what she's teaching. Is the A-level question going to be a VIST? Yes, Rishik, the A-level question will be a VIST. Hi, Arnav. Amukta, could you explain coevolution? Yes, Amukta, coevolution. So I'll tell you this, first of all. I had it on the quiz, and then I realized that I haven't really gone over it. So I took it out. But coevolution is basically the idea that two organisms are evolving in relationship to each other. They're impacting each other's evolution. Okay. All right. Let's see where we're at. Hi, Jonathan. Nice to see you here. Hi, Lavi. Explain behavioral isolation. Definitely. Behavioral isolation is the idea that, like, for example, two different species are not attracted to each other and don't want to mate with each other because they exhibit different behaviors, right? So the attraction won't be there because like one of them could be making a specific sound that the other one is not attracted to. All right, let's see. Hi, Jenna. Go over gene flow. Jenna, gene flow is the idea of immigration and emigration. So it's organisms coming into a population or leaving a population. That's gene flow. Can you explain selection pressure more? Sure, Parth. Parth, selection pressure is the thing that's sort of causing some of, like, what's causing the allele frequency to change in a sense. So what is it that's causing some of the organisms that are dying, or the organisms that are dying, to die? Like, what is that thing that's causing it? So in the example of the giraffes, for example, the short-necked giraffes that were dying, they were dying because they couldn't reach the food, right? They couldn't find food. So the selection pressure was the location of food. In the case of the elephant tusks, the selection pressure was the poachers, the humans that were specifically looking for large tusks. Hey, John. Surya, what are polygenic and single gene traits? So Surya, polygenic and single gene. So a single gene trait is a trait or a phenotype that only takes one gene. It only requires basically one gene. Polygenic means many genes. Many genes come together to sort of determine one phenotype. Hira, for the A-level question about the moths and the industrial revolution, is it technically artificial selection because humans have caused the industrial revolution? So Hira, that's a great question. In order for it to be artificial selection, it's something that will have to be sort of manipulated by humans almost. You know what I mean? It's not just that we kind of played a role. It's not just that we caused something, but it's that, for example, we're not wanting to get darker moths out of it. That's not the goal, right? So even though we have goofed up as humans a lot, it's still not artificial selection for that reason. John, is bottleneck effect an example of genetic drift? Yes, it is. Rishik, can you explain antibiotic resistance? So Rishik, this one is sort of I guess, a longer, lengthier one. So it's the idea that you have, imagine if I asked you to explain antibiotic resistance using VIST, right? So you would start with the V. So you would say there's a lot of variation. There's a range of different types of bacteria and how resistant they are to different antibiotics. You would tell me where that variation comes from, right? Horizontal gene transfer and mutations. And then you'd go into your I and tell me that the ones that are surviving are passing on their genes through, this one would be asexual reproduction, right? Through binary fission. Whereas with S, you would talk about selection pressures and selection for and selection against. So the selection pressure would be antibiotics, right? Selection for the ones that are resistant, selection against the ones that are not resistant, and so on. I hope that gets you a good start to that question. All right. John, that's not an A-level question. I think Rishik just came up with that one, I think. That's not one that I gave you guys in class. Let's see, Nissa, what's the difference between gene flow and genetic drift? So Nissa, gene flow is the movement of organisms from one population to another. Genetic drift is the idea that something happens that causes some organisms to die, and it's just by chance, by luck. It's not because some were fit and some were unfit. So it's kind of like wrong place, wrong time. Are the answers posted for this practice within class today? No, Ronit, there are no answers that were posted. That's just something I gave you guys to practice on your own. Surya, can you go over population genetics? Surya, you got to be a little more specific because population genetics is a whole topic. It's like, it's not just one little thing. It's just this sort of gigantic thing that we did. Can you explain mechanical isolation? Sure, Rishik. Mechanical isolation is the idea that sexual organs, like sexual parts, don't necessarily fit, like physically, or that their chromosomes are not a fit, so that they won't be able to have fertile offspring. All right, let's see where we at. I'm starting to lose my place. All right, Lovey. Oh, love. This is lovely. I see that you guys are helping each other out, and I love that. So when I see that someone's helping somebody else out, I'll skip that one and move on to the next one. Can you go over the fossil record and embryonic development? Nitin, you don't need to know a whole lot about that. In the beginning of this video, I just mentioned something about that. If you go over that, you'll be fine. All right, let's see. Parth, what's up, buddy? Nice to see you. Can you explain inherited versus genetically determined? I don't know what that means, Ronit. I apologize. Can you be a little more specific about your question? Nissa, artificial selection is the idea that humans basically do something. So like think about dogs, right? We have so many different breeds of dogs. Humans are they're choosing basically which traits they like in dogs, and then they are breeding dogs to get the traits that we want, to get the phenotypes that we want. We do the same thing with fruits and vegetables and whatnot. All right. Selection pressure for is good, selection pressure against is bad, right? I don't know how you're looking at it, Ronit, but I guess you could look at it that way. Selection pressure, by the way, don't say selection pressure against, right? It's selection for or selection against, not selection pressure for, selection pressure against. So there are three things you got to know: selection pressure, selection for, selection against. Okay, selection for means what is it like? Which ones are the ones that are surviving? Selection against is which ones are the ones that are dying. Hi, Jasmita. Bye, Edgar. John. Yes, John. We're going to have an A-level question on the quiz, and it's going to be a VIST. Surya, mechanical isolation is when two organisms do not have... Okay, you're explaining it. Good. All right. Lavi, if someone has a deep wound in their torso that has pierced a vital organ and they contract MRSA, how would that wound be treated? Oh, man. Lavi, I don't know, and I guess enough about this. All I can tell you is that if you have MRSA, you're not in a good situation because there's really nothing right now that I know of that can treat MRSA. So I know if it happens in a limb, that you would have to get it amputated. So I assume that if it happens to an internal organ, I don't know, man. I think that's a bad situation. I don't know if there's anything to do. All right, let's see. Okay. Cut out a chunk of the torso, says Edgar. Nisa. Okay. Thanks, Nisa, for telling me how to pronounce your name. I appreciate that. Nisa, whose class are you in? I always forget that. Surya, can you explain about founder effect? Definitely, Surya. So the founder effect is this idea that you have a group of organisms in a population that end up either, dividing, or they end up leaving that first population, and they're starting their own population. They're sort of the founders of a new population, right? That's why it's called the founder effect. They're the founders of this new population, but this new population's allele frequency doesn't match the old population's allele frequency. So, for example, when you want to compare those, say like marbles or like plastic balls or whatever, if you in the old population had 20 red ones, 20 green ones, 20 yellow ones, let's say that of those, this new population has 3 red ones, 3 yellow ones, and no green ones. That's not an accurate representation of your old population, of the original population. So that's the founder effect. All right. Bottleneck effect is somewhat the same, except the bottleneck effect is we're talking about the survivors of a disaster, and instead of sort of the new ones that are wanting to start their own population. Hira, will we have to include differential reproduction in our VIS questions? No, I didn't really go over that so much here, so don't worry about including that. All right. Thank you, Hira and Rishik, for explaining your answers to Surya. That's awesome. Alex, should we include something about allele frequencies in our VIST? Okay, that's a great question. Alex, when you tell me about allele frequencies in your VIST, that makes my heart smile. So if you can find a way to include that, it's not something that's required for you to include, but if you can find an accurate way of including it, that would be awesome. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so Ronit, you meant inherited traits versus genetically determined traits. Ronit, I don't know that I want you to really like focus on this much, to be honest with you. I guess if you're talking about VIST on it, I don't want you to say that the traits were inherited. I want you to say that the traits, you can say something like they were inherited through sexual reproduction, right? Or genetically determined. That's kind of what I want you to say, right? Because the word inherited doesn't tell me whether you know that it was sexual or asexual reproduction. Hi, Arnav. How many questions are there going to be on the test? Parth asks. Parth, I'm still working on it because, to be honest with you, I have this thing where I'm never happy with my quizzes. So I can tell you right now, I'm looking at about 20 C-level questions. I'm looking at about 10 B-level questions and 1 A-level question. That's what I'm looking at. All right, let's see. Isn't founder effect considered as geographical isolation? Those two could tie in together, Surya, but not necessarily. All right. Can you explain genetic variation, where it comes from? Rana, genetic variation comes from 2 places: mutations and crossing over for sexual organisms, sexually reproducing organisms. If we're talking about bacteria, it's horizontal gene transfer instead of crossing over. All right. Parth, explain. Actually, no. Parth, my 2 parts are both here back to back. So part T, is most of the quiz multiple choice? Yes, most of the quiz is multiple choice. Part R, can you explain speciation? So part R, speciation is the idea that one species, here's something to know about speciation. So it's this idea that one species sort of breaks off and becomes 2 species, right? So how does that happen? First, you have to have some type of reproductive isolation, which means that these 2 species are not going to be able to, the ones that have gotten divided won't be able to mate with each other. Now, once they are in their new environments, they have to experience natural selection in different ways. Okay. So this one might be getting cold, for example, this one might be getting hot. And after a very long period of time, I'm not just talking about a couple 100 years, depending obviously on what we're talking about, but after a long period of time, these could become different species to the point where if they came back to try to mate with each other, they wouldn't be able to have fertile offspring. All right. Let's see. Do we need to know the conditions for genetic equilibrium, Shrika? Yes, you do. Remember, there are 5 conditions for genetic equilibrium. Parth, yes. Multiple choice is there's matching. Yep. If we're given a graph or table and are told to write a VIST, do we have to include evidence from the table or graph? Absolutely, Arnav. If you're given a graph or table, include information from that. Rudra, what is the difference between analogous and homologous? So Rudra, I explained this a little earlier in the video lecture. If anybody can help Rudra out and tell him what minute or where it was, that would be awesome. Ronit, are you already thinking about retaking this quiz, man? Don't think that way. I want you to be positive. You can retake any quiz, obviously, but don't think that way right now going into it. All right. Thanks, Hira. Thanks for providing that answer for Rudra. Nisa. Am I saying it right this time, Nisa? How do allele frequencies change as a result of natural selection? All right. So, Nisa, answer one question for me. Did you do breeding bunnies in your class, in your bio class? Once I know the answer to that question, I'll be able to help you a little better, I think. Awesome. Glad I'm saying it right. Okay. Nisa, whose class are you in again? Remind me. I keep asking you like every time, but I forget. Rishik, I responded to your email, buddy. Check your email. I responded. Okay, Mr. Gann. Cool. Rishik, I just explained speciation like a couple minutes ago, so rewind and you'll see it. So Nisa, basically, when you did breeding bunnies, the first 5 seasons, not a whole lot changed, right? There was no natural selection. All of a sudden, natural selection happened and it got cold. And all of a sudden, you started to see allele frequencies start to change. So what that really means is individuals start to die off, some of them, and some of them start to survive. And that's sort of doing this, right? This idea that there's this constant change. And that basically is evolution, right? The change in allele frequencies. Rudra, conditions for genetic equilibrium. Somebody help Rudra out. List all 5 of them. Let's see who can do it fastest. What is an example of homologous structures, Jasmita? An example of homologous structures would be the one that I keep going back to is the bone structure of a human arm versus the bone structure of a bat's wing, because they have a common ancestor. So there's so much they have in common, right? Even though they're using them for different things. All right, good job, John. I think, John, you were the first one to get that up there. Good job. Sticker for you tomorrow, my friend. Hey, there's Como. What's up, homie? Go over horizontal gene transfer. Yeah, Como. So horizontal gene transfer is the idea that bacteria kind of come close together physically. They form a bridge and they start to exchange information with each other. That's horizontal gene transfer. Hey, there's Craig. Craig, I explained this single gene trait and polygenic trait a little earlier. So rewind back and you'll be able to see it. No problem, Nisa. I hope that was helpful. There's Surya with the answers. Good. Arnav, what do we need to know about comparative anatomy? Not a whole lot, Arnav. Just a little bit about embryology and how. I think I mentioned something about that maybe a couple times earlier. So go find that, but nothing to worry about too much about that. Good, Ronit. You came up with them. Oh man, you guys are funny. Craig's coming in with the answers now. Everybody's coming in with the answers. Surya's coming in. Do we need to know about MRSA for the test, Surya? I don't remember. I got to look through my quiz, but it's a good idea to know about MRSA in general. So Michael, you're saying that you don't feel like poaching is artificial selection? Well, here's the thing, Michael. I'm glad that you brought this up. So poaching in a sense is artificial selection because we are choosing a trait that we, as humans or as poachers, that, and I say we, even though I hate saying we because that's not something I would ever do, but humans choose which trait they're really like. If we are the ones making that choice of which trait we want to go after, then that's going to be artificial selection. In a situation like the Industrial Revolution, we were not thinking like, hey, we're going to make the background darker, right? And that's why that one's not artificial selection. Yeah, Parth, A-level question, VIST. Yeah, como horizontal gene transfer is a lot like crossing over, except it's for bacteria. Hey, there's Rayon. Rishik, binary fission is this idea. I think which period was I doing this in? I forget. But I was doing this thing where I was like, here's a bacteria that you have, and that bacteria is just going to go blip, and it's going to divide into two. And that idea, that right there is binary fission, right? Remember, it's asexual reproduction. Yeah, Hira, so you're right. If humans are directly influencing it, then it's artificial. All right. Yeah, Greg, poaching is like selection pressure. Absolutely, it is. All right. Let's see what else. Arnav, MRSA is most commonly caught in hospitals because, that's where people go when they have infections. That's the first reason. The other reason is that there's so many antibiotics given in hospitals that the chance of finding resistant bacteria, right, is going to be highest in a place where you have a lot of antibiotics. Yeah, John said it too. I basically just copied John's answer. That's what I did. And you're right, John, and infected people. Let's see, Nisa, what allows bacteria to become resistant to antibiotics? Ooh, so Nisa, imagine if I asked you to write a VIST on that, right? So how would you write your VIST? So Nisa, I would say that's a good challenge for you, like be able to write a VIST on it, right? What allows bacteria to become resistant to antibiotics? Um, Nitin, will we have to know about antibiotic resistance? Yes, you will, Nitin. Guys, thanks, Rayon. Rayon, do you not have this quiz tomorrow? Have you already taken yours? Rayon, if I'm gonna owe Viba. I don't think Viba's here tonight, but she and I made a bet, and she's winning it right now. She was supposed to approach me, I think, every day for a week straight, enthusiastically, and give me a high five. And I think she's close to getting to a week. And I told her I'd give her a Persian cucumber, which I will need to go to Trader Joe's and buy for her soon. All right. Let's see what other questions you all have. I'm going to take a sip of my tea while you come up with more questions. All right, so Craig, I see that you're trying to help Nissan. That's amazing. But I think the best way to do it, let's see. The best way to do it would be to actually write a VIST. I think that would really clear things up for those of you who want to know how to do that, how to answer that question. Yeah. What do you guys think about those paintings behind me? My wife put those up. I painted those a few years ago. Are you guys fans or not fans? Oh, Rayon. Okay, that makes sense. Jenna, what's the difference between genetic drift and geographic isolation? So, Jenna, genetic drift is when something random happens, like a catastrophe happens, right? And some members of the population die because of wrong place, wrong time, not because they were less fit. Geographic isolation is when something separates the members of a population into two different areas. So they could be related in that you could say if some form of genetic drift happens and it separates the population, that was genetic drift, and now it's separated them, so it's also geographic isolation. So they could be linked to each other. All right. Do we need to know about the Hardy-Weinberg Law? No, Parth, you don't need to because I didn't teach you that. Do mutations or genetic recombination add new data? DNA. Yeah, they do. I would say they definitely keep up with the idea of the allele frequency fluctuating. Yeah, Rayon, I'm telling you, man, I'm a painter. Hey, Rayon, you remembered the name. H-Dog. That is awesome that you remembered, Rayon. Come to my class and I will give you an awesome Batman sticker for remembering that. I didn't know if you'd remember that. Could you quickly go over section of VIST and tell the important keywords? Let's see. Okay, everybody, let's help Michael out. What do we need to know for V, for I, for S, for T? Right? Let's go ahead and write that out. And then I can go over it as I see people pop it up. But let's start with V, right? With V, you're going to need to know range. You're going to need to know what causes variation. Ron, are you telling me a joke? Let me see. Different. Oh, that's awesome, Ronit. That is freaking awesome. You just gave me a new joke to put in my pocket. Thank you, Ronit. That's awesome. Oh man, I love my students. Okay, what else? Right, Parth? That was a good joke. Lena, would the founder effect be geographic isolation? The founder effect could be a result of geographic isolation, which could be a result of genetic drift. If you caught what I just said, you are in an amazing place in your thinking with evolution. Cool? I even forgot what I just said. But if you caught that, you're in a good place. All right, let's see. Good job, John. So V, range, variation, good. Let's see. Yeah, everybody's helping John out. Helping Michael out. Michael, let me know if you still want me to go over it, or if people stepping in to help you is good enough. Nisa, state if trait is inherited or genetic. Yeah, so Nisa, this is the really important part. At least what I've been telling my students is I don't want them to use the word inherited just by itself. I need to know if it's been if it's genetic or not, if it's been genetic or passed down through sexual reproduction. Cool. Ishida, what do you mean what just happened? What are you talking about? Are you talking about what I said in response to Lena's question? Because I can go back and read it and repeat it if you need me to. Let's see. Hmm. Hero, what do we need to write for time and adaptation sections? For time, you need to talk about populations, right? You can talk about micro versus macro evolution. Adaptation, you don't necessarily need to hit that up, but if you want to, you can. You can talk about whether any of the organisms learned to adapt or could learn to adapt to their new situation. Remember, the more general you are, the more you could learn to adapt to something. Yeah, Ishida, you want me to go back and do that? Looks like you said yes. So I think, what did Lena ask? Lena asked, would the founder effect be geographic isolation? So I said the founder effect could be happening because of sort of as a result of geographic isolation, and geographic isolation could be happening as a result of genetic drift. I think that's what I said. All right. No problem, Rashik. My pleasure, buddy. Anytime. No problem, Michael. I'm glad that people stepping in is helping you out. Ishida, does that make sense? Do you get my little goofiness? So Jenna, I talked about this earlier. Don't worry about it too much. Polygenic traits are basically just traits that require more than one gene. Single gene traits are just one gene, one trait. Yeah, I listed 3 examples in Google Classroom. Can someone share those examples with Nisa, please? Because I know she's not in my class. So if you could share those examples so that she can have some practice, that'd be great. Do we need to know repurposed traits, vestigial structures, and lost traits? Yes, Parth, you do. Absolutely. What are lost traits, John? Lost traits are traits that were lost due to a tremendous amount of selection pressure on them. Yeah, Nisa Ishida is in my class. You can definitely ask her. I posted it on Google Classroom, so I'm sure she can find a way to share it with you. Okay, so here are lost and repurposed traits. So this comes from our lecture on what were we doing? Flightless birds. You guys remember those? So we talked about repurposed traits like penguins and their wings and how they use them for swimming, but that initially those wings were not meant for swimming. So that's the idea of repurposed trait. Vestigial trait, as you know, is a trait that sticks around because there's no selection pressure against or for it. And lost trait, there was a ton of selection pressure against it, so it's no longer around. Convergent evolution, KK? Yeah, convergent evolution is the idea that two different species that are not directly related are going to sort of exhibit similar behaviors, and that's the idea of analogous structures, right? The idea that the structures that they're using, like the wings of a bat and the wings of a fly, they both fly, but they're not directly related. Lost traits are macro, yeah, John. Ishida, so Nisa is asking for those three examples that I posted on Google Classroom, I think yesterday and today, the three VIST examples. I think Nisa is asking for those. Oh, you did, Craig? Awesome. Thank you for putting the link on the chat. Ishida, I feel like I'm just confusing you more tonight. Jenna, what's the difference between being passed on genetically or through sexual reproduction? It's the same thing, Jenna. You just got to mention one or the other. Lena, do lost traits harm the organisms in survival? No, not really, because it's happening over a long period of time. And if it's being lost, then it means that the ones that are losing it, the organisms that are like the reason why it's going away is because it's not something that's aiding in the survival of those organisms. So in fact, it's the opposite. Yeah, Craig, you got it, man. Craig, you are thinking correctly about this. So I'm starting to feel pretty good about where you are with this quiz. Keep it up. Keep it up. Everybody happy tomorrow's Friday? I'm so happy. Was it just me or did this week kick my butt, you guys? It really did. Is that right, John? Oh man. Yeah. Looks like a lot of you guys are feeling the same way. Yeah. Oh no, Ishida, let me know if you want to talk sometime. Hey Ishida, talk to me sometime about that book I gave you. Tell me if you finished reading it or if you found it enjoyable or not. I want to learn more about that. Yeah, Nisa, I'm the same. I can't wait to just sleep in on Saturday and Sunday and all that good stuff. I might hang out with Mr. Jones this weekend. Who knows? Rayon this week was bad for you too. Man, looks like a lot of us had a bad week this week. What is going on? I'll tell you guys something too, something kind of superstitious. So when I was a kid, I was told, I forget who told me this. It might have been my grandma, but I was told that when crows, what do crows do? What's that sound they make? When crows make that sound, um, that it means that there's news coming your way, right? And typically it's bad news. So this morning, as I was leaving my classroom to go to the bathroom, I heard some crows and I was like, man, I do not need this right now. Mm, that's true, John. That's why Fridays are good because you look forward to that weekend. Rayan, you didn't get any Persian cucumbers, so it has to be a bad week. Oh man, I will try to hook you up with some Persian cucumbers, Rayan. Craig, Mr. Jones, I know was streaming earlier tonight. I don't know if he still is. That'd be cool if we could somehow merge the two streams so Jones and I could kind of help out at the same time. Thanks, KK. You too. Arnav, I don't think that restaurant is around anymore, man. TGIF. There used to be one in Cupertino back in the day, and I actually really liked it. But I don't know if there's any more TGIF restaurants around us anymore. They crow. Thank you, Nitin. Thank you for helping out a former EL student, myself. They crow. Thank you. How about a black cat crossing your way? Craig, if I saw a black cat crossing my way, I would just be like, damn. You guys know I am so super. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I'm very superstitious and I'm not really proud of it, but it's just like if I see a ladder somewhere, I'm not going to walk under it. If I hear the crowing, I'm going to feel like something bad's going to happen. Whenever I say something, I got to knock on wood. It's not good, you guys. Don't be superstitious like me. Ronit, what are Persian cucumbers? Come on, man. I'm going to have to bring you one too. Just the fact that you asked that question, I'm offended. Just kidding. I'm not offended. We just have to introduce you to Persian cucumbers. Oh, really? Nitin, your mom told you that when they crow, it means you have surprise guests coming over soon? I guess that could be a good thing, right? No, Rayon, you don't want Persian cucumbers? Now I'm offended. That's it. Oh, Craig, so there is a way for us to do it, huh? I'll talk to Jonesy about it. What if he rejects me though, right? And then my feelings will be hurt. So I don't know. Ishida, you open umbrellas inside. Oh man. John, what are my superstitions? Ladders, the bad luck. What'd you say? Avoid ladders not to get sent to the hospital, not because of bad luck. Man, I'm superstitious about a lot of things. Like when I used to play soccer, if I ever had a really good game, like whatever I was wearing for that game, like that pair of socks or those shorts or whatever, like even down to underwear, I'd be like, that's what I'm wearing again next time. It's no good. Not proud of it. Um, Ren, you talking about cucumbers, man? Because you're right, they're amazing. That's funny. John, that's funny. Your mom's favorite cat in the complex is black. No, here's the thing. If I know the cat and the cat and I are friends, I'm okay with the cat walking in front of me. If it's a cat I've never seen before, then I'm comfortable about it crossing in front of me. Mhm. Yeah, Nathan, you do that too for sports. So we're both superstitious like that. You don't break mirrors so that you don't get yelled at. No superstitions. John, I want to be like John. That's the deal. I want to be like John Winton because I don't want to be superstitious. What you say, Nathan? You have one pair of socks and one pair of underwear. You were only at matches. Yep, that sounds like me, Nathan. And then if you have a bad game, then all of a sudden you're like, all right, Time for a change. Oh, really? There's a song about cucumbers, Craig? I did not know this. Who's singing a song about cucumbers? That's supposed to be like a dirty, inappropriate song or something? Why would somebody sing a song about cucumbers? Nisa, of course we wash these clothes. Come on. Really? There's a song about cucumbers. Oh my god. I don't know, guys. Me and cats, there's a lack of trust there between cats and I. You know, they're unpredictable. No problem, Ronnie. It's my pleasure, man. Horizontal gene transfer works by two bacteria getting close to each other, building a bridge, and then sending information to each other, sending their genes to each other, just kind of like crossing over, actually. Oh, it's like a rap song. Okay. My day today. Yeah, Ishida, for sure. Yeah, come chat with me tomorrow. That'd be fine. We haven't chatted in a while anyway, so that'd be nice. The song talks about nutrition, seriously? Like this is a legit song that talks about nutrition and they sing about cucumbers. Ooh, okay. Yeah, John. Dogs all the way. Yeah, Nathan, you're more of a hedgehog person. It's a 1 minute video. Okay, I'm gonna check it out after this. Should I check it out? Do you advise that I check this out, or is it gonna be am I just gonna shake my head afterwards? Hey, speaking of shaking my head, I realized that I need to do a better job of not shaking my head in situations where I find something to be ridiculous. Are any of you guys like me in that like your emotions show on your body language and whatnot? Okay, Craig, it's not inappropriate. Thanks, Ishida, for explaining to me that SMH is an abbreviation, as if I'm an old person and I had no idea that that was the case. I appreciate it. What will you have to know about bacterial resistance video lecture? Hira, I think what's really important is being able to, for example, write a VIST on, if you can write a VIST on how bacteria develop resistance, that would be awesome. Ishida, I'm just messing with you. It's all good. Recently, who was it? A former student and I, who's now, I think, about to graduate college, she texted me and said something like DW. I was like, what the heck is DW? Then I found out it's don't worry. I had to ask. I didn't know what DW was. Thanks, Greg. I know this session went from answering questions to just hanging out. KK, video games? Yeah, Jones and I actually share a console. I like to play video games, but I'm much more into sports games than I am into anything else. And that was kind of the case since I was a kid. Ishida, what did I do? You forgot your course selection form and I told you that you have an automatic F. That sounds like me. We have a PS4, which to be honest, I kind of regret. I think we should probably have bought a, what am I trying to say? A Switch. Fortnite. My 10-year-old nephew was asking me if I play Fortnite. I asked him if he plays. He said, no, he's not allowed, which is probably a good thing, right? I don't think a 10-year-old should be playing Fortnite. What do you guys think? Rayon, I'm down. I haven't played basketball in a long time, but I'd be down to play basketball or soccer. Yeah, I don't see. I watched Jones play Fortnite, and it's kind of nice. I mean, kind of fascinating watching it for a couple minutes. But to be honest, it's not really my thing. I think I would get bored. Like I need the constant, like in a sport, like the constant excitement that a sport provides. I wanted to buy NBA 2K, but I haven't bought that yet. I don't know. I think right now I only have, what do I have? I have Madden. Um, I have a couple other games, but I want to buy NBA 2K. There's a game that it's not out for PS4, I don't think anymore, but I loved this game. It was called FIFA Street. Man, if they made that, I would be all about it. Alex loves apples. Get some help with Vist. Alex, what do you need to know? Tell me. Be more specific. What kind of help do you need with Vist? All right, let's see. Oh, so your brother is 10, and all his friends play Fortnite? Ooh. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old school about it. I guess I just feel like it's, I don't know. Am I just being too old school, honestly? Thinking that a 10-year-old playing Fortnite is probably a little too soon. I don't know, a little too early in age. Ruhi, you banned your brother? Got banned from oh, by you, okay. Oh, really? The World Health Organization has classified gaming disorder as a mental health problem. Wow. I didn't know that. Jeez. I believe it though, guys. I really do. I'm kind of glad that like when I was growing up, all the games that exist now didn't exist then. I feel like for me it was probably best to just go out and play soccer like I did. Right, Nisa? You're into soccer. Alex, what's the type of language I'm looking for in VIST? Okay. Did anybody write down? So on the board, I remember in my class, we wrote down a VIST and all the things that I want to see for each one of them. Did anyone take a picture of that or write that down? And if so, would you be able to send it to Alex? Now, Alex loves apples. Which Alex are you? Are you one of my many Alexes or are you in a different bio class? Yeah, Ishida, you feel like it's too young. KK, go over types of speciation once more. Yeah. So, are you talking about? Come be a little more specific. You talking about convergent and divergent? In fifth grade. What? How old is a kid when they're in fifth grade, Craig? That's 10, right? Yeah, man. I don't know. For me, it just feels like it's too early for a kid. Arnav, it's actually pretty early to play Fortnite at 10. Yeah, you agree? Amukta, survival strategies. Can you be more specific? Ishida technology's taking over? Yes, it is, especially for your guys' generation. It wasn't as bad for mine. Yeah, Craig, I agree. The OG games are fun, but they can also kind of get. I feel like it's just if you introduce an OG game to a 14-year-old today and be like, here's some Atari, they're probably going to think it's cool for 5 minutes and then want to move on. Whereas back in my day, it was so brand new that like you could play for hours and not get bored. Oh, Nisa, you played soccer for 10 years? Nisa, what kind of surgery did you have? And are you making a comeback? You're going to play again? Pac-Man, Nitin, yeah. There was also a game I used to play for the first PlayStation console called what was it called? Goldstorm. Man, I was so good at that game. I can kick anybody's butt in that game. Probably not anymore, but back in the day I could. Yeah, I don't know which Alex that is. Alex, you're one of mine. Which one of mine are you? Which one of my Alexes are you? Craig, you feel old? Try being me, man. You're 14 years old. I'm like 25 years older than you. So yeah, behavioral isolation is, I mentioned this a little earlier. So it's the idea that like two species won't be attracted to each other because of the behaviors, the sounds, the whatever, the mating calls that they're exhibiting. Como, you're referring to behavioral isolation and geographical isolation. Got it. Okay. So behavior and geographical are different in that geographical has to do with the physical separation. Behavior has to do with mating calls and whatnot. Cool. Hmm. I remember Donkey Kong. Oh my God, Ishida, I totally remember Donkey Kong. I used to play that all the time. Thank you, Craig, for starting to list everything for Alex, I think. Oh, knee surgery. You tore your ACL. Oh, man. I'm sorry, Nisa. My brother just tore his ACL too, and he had surgery about a month and a half ago. But you'll come back. You will come back. I think Miss Smith has had 5 knee surgeries, by the way. And she kept coming back to soccer. And then the last one she had, she was just done. She didn't want to play anymore. She didn't want to risk it, I think. Oh, Craig, you're 15 now. My bad. Rayon, are you being serious? There's a game you used to play with your mom where she would hide and you'd have to clean up the house before she counted down from 20 minutes? What? If that's true, that is awesome. Okay. Yeah, Alex, that was part of our JP, but I'd be happy to go over it for you if you like. Mr. Jones, Craig tore both. You're right. I think he did. One of them was worse than the other, I think. And he only had knee surgery on one of them. And I think the other one, I don't know if he's actually going to have surgery on it or not. I do know that Jones wants to go back to doing, what am I trying to say? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu again, right? But I don't know if he's going to have surgery on the other knee. Alex, when is the human growth and development? Are you talking about, so our physiology unit, Alex, starts in 2 weeks, if that's what you're referring to? Oh, Rayan, okay, I'm glad you're joking. I was going to say your mom is very clever for making you play that game. Oh, you guys are funny. All right. So we'll start to wrap it up. I'm going to go do a couple last polishing on this quiz to make it a little more something I want. It's been a pleasure chatting with you all. I kind of like that we went the direction of just kind of chatting about other stuff. And I'm glad you all came to join me. Thank you for your compliments on my art. I appreciate it. Who's that? KK? KK temporal isolation has to do with time. So it's when two species are not going to mate with each other because of a time difference in their mating. Cool. Craig, you're funny. If you want to go over the quiz with us, yeah, you want to spell check it for me, Craig? Oh man, yeah, no problem, Como. I hope that helped. Anytime, Ron, at anytime, you guys. Thank you for joining me. I know we didn't have a very big crowd tonight, but that's okay because it was fun. It was manageable. I appreciate you all very much. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And I know we're all excited about the weekend. So hopefully you can all go get some sleep. Don't stay up too much, at least not for bio. Try to go get some sleep and see you all in the morning. Yeah. You guys all take care. Have a good night. Adios, my homies.